I'm AP Townley, and this is Roleplay Culture. Are we ready to wield the power of the gods and inflict divine justice upon those poor misbegotten souls? You darn spiffy we are. But if we're clerics in D&D, then most likely we all look alike. Or at least our spell lists do. Let's name 3 spells and see if they're on your prepared spell list. Healing Word, Spiritual Weapon, and Spirit Guardians. Yeah, that's what I thought. Every cleric worth their salt packs these spells. Revivify, Cure Wounds, for better or worse, and most cleric players tend to have very similar spell lists. At least the prepared spell lists, anyway. Sure, the cleric class uses the prepared spell system, allowing you to change out what spells you're packing from day to day. And yet, our default lists look a lot alike. So here are 5 underrated spells for the cleric in D&D 5e. Like usual, we'll choose 1 spell per level, levels 1 to 5. Number 1, Sanctuary. This first little abjuration spell wards a creature within 30 feet. Anyone who targets that creature with an attack or a harmful spell makes a wisdom save, or they're forced to target another creature or lose that spell or attack. There are some restrictions. The warded creature themselves cannot attack another, deal damage to another, or cast a spell at an enemy, else their warding end. It's pretty restricting, sure, but it's got some benefits. The spell lasts for a minute with no concentration, and it only takes a bonus action to cast. So this spell won't mess with your action economy. You could take another action, like help action, make a weapon attack, or use a cantrip, assuming, of course, you're not the warded creature. All the same round. If you're escorting a non-combatant, or just have a character that's going to be doing some buffing, or doing other things during their turn, then they're the perfect target for this. Number 2, Protection from Poison. Now I know what you're all thinking. There's nothing good about this spell. We have Absorb Elements and Protection from Energy, right? Well, to them, I have a few points. Absorb Elements, awesome spell, only works once, and interestingly enough, doesn't include poison in its protection. More on that in a second. It also has a range of self, and, again, funny enough, not available to the cleric. Protection from Energy has a similar problem. No protection from poison, and it requires concentration, and it's a 3rd level spell. Protection from Poison is a 2nd level abjuration spell that takes an action to cast and lasts for an hour with no concentration. It neutralizes a poison afflicting the target immediately. It gives advantage to saving throws on any further poisonings, as well as resistance to poison damage. So what's so special about being protected from poison? Well, first of all, the poison condition sucks. Disadvantage on all attack rolls and ability checks, yeah, it's not good. Then there's the poison damage itself. It might seem inflexible to have a spell that only protects against 1 damage type. Let's discuss that. The most common damage types in the game are, of course, the trio, bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing. But most would argue that the next most common is fire, which is probably true in game stat terms, at least. The most common damage type, for monsters and spells and hazards and all that, is fire. However, I posit that the most likely damage that a player character will encounter is not fire, but poison damage. It is more common amongst monsters and even added to a lot of weapon damage types like for assassins. The poison condition is also pretty common too. For a mere 2nd level spell to give defense against all of that, especially for an hour with no concentration, definitely worth packing this spell in your arsenal. Number 3, Water Walk. This here is a very misleadingly named spell. You might look at that title and think all it does is let you walk across water, right? Nifty, but pretty niche. And because of that, it might never do more than scratch the surface. There's a lot more to this story. This 3rd level transmutation spell takes an action to cast and lasts for an hour with no concentration. It can affect up to 10 people within 30 feet. In that, it's very similar to the water breathing spell. You can see my thoughts on that right up here. And yes, it does allow you to walk across water. In fact, it lets you walk across any liquid surface as if it were solid ground. Pools of acid, mud, quicksand, even lava. Though with lava, the heat can still harm you. But if the surface is liquidy in any way, the spell gets you across it real fast. And if you're already submerged in some kind of liquid, this spell will rocket you to the surface at 60 feet per round. Let's just hope the bends aren't a thing. But best of all, this is a ritual. As I've always said, if a class is a ritual caster, we should take advantage of that and have at least one good ritual spell in our repertoire. Adding 10 minutes to the casting time of this spell saves us a spell slot. It opens up all kinds of exploration opportunities. And remember, 10 people, more than enough for the party and their dog. Number 4, Stone Shape. Wouldn't it be nice to avoid that maze in the dungeon? Or just walk right through the walls? Well, with this spell, you kinda can't. It's not flashy or spectacular. You're not blowing anything up with this spell. It's mostly for utility. But those are my favorite kind. Stone Shape is a 4th level transmutation spell that takes an action to cast and allows you to shape medium-sized stone objects into some other form. You can make simple tools or weapons, nothing too complicated. You can also alter the stone around a door so it doesn't quite fit right, essentially sticking it in place. You can also open a path through stone, as long as the stone is no more than 5 feet thick, which should work pretty well in the interior of a structure. But just know that, historically, the outer walls of a castle, the curtain wall, were usually 10 feet thick. But still, it's a good way to get the shape of an object you need, like a tool or even a key. You could also bypass a wall as long as they're not too thick. And it shouldn't be too niche of a spell. I mean, it's Dungeons and Dragons, right? Dungeons, castles, forts, stone is what they usually use when they want to keep you out. And this is your key to get in. I didn't mention how long this spell lasted, did I? Yeah, that's because there's no duration. Whatever you mold the stone into is its new shape. The results are permanent. And because the duration is instantaneous, Dispel Magic won't fix it, so there's that little gem. And people think flying can break encounters. Wait till you're burrowing through the walls. Number 5, Commune. For 5th level spells, we often look to big flashy things like Flame Strike and Raise Dead. Good spells, of course. But what kind of priest would we be if we didn't pray to our god for advice in times of need? That's where this spell comes into play. This 5th level divination spell has a casting time of a minute, with a duration of a minute, with no concentration. You can ask your god 3 yes or no answer questions that they will answer truthfully. Now, gods aren't necessarily omniscient, so you may get an answer of unclear if they don't know. If that answer could be misleading, if the question pertains to one of their domains or if the topic just interests them, they might answer with a short phrase instead. Even better, this spell is a ritual. High-level ritual spells are pretty rare, and being able to save a 5th level spell slot is definitely worth adding 10 minutes to your casting time with the spell. Now, before our DMs out there start blowing head gaskets about players badgering them for answers from their god over and over again, like some sugared-up child nightmare.
Mom! 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 Mommy! Mommy! Mom!
Know that there is a limit baked into the spell. Every time you cast a spell beyond the first incurs a cumulative 25% chance that you get no answer at all. You know, your god's kind of busy, right? This is actually better than some other similar spells where you can get like a random or false answer. And if the DMs out there think that players are just going to stick to things concerning the campaign, you know, things they know about, well, I wish I had their childlike sense of naivete. But good luck thinking up answers on the spot for all the random crap your players ask. You're welcome. That is 5 underrated spells for the Cleric in D&D 5e. If you want more videos like this, then you're going to have to subscribe, ring the bell, smash that like button, leave comments below, and I'll see you in the parlor.